Sarah and Jane, he calls them his red aunts.
Right.
Because they're the Spencer red hair. Well, they were when they were younger.
Well, let's speak about the Spencers. When Harry came over for his uncle, Lord Fellowes' funeral, he was surrounded by the Spencers. Lady Jane Fellowes, who was who was Lord Fellowes' widow,
Yeah.
and also Diana. She's Diana's sister, and his uncle Earl Spencer. And he stayed at Althorpe. If Harry is estranged and no sense of reconciliation from the royal family, are the Spencers the answer to his desire to come back to the UK and build bridges in the UK?
Yes, I think the Spencers probably are the answers. The answer, I mean. I feel that he's always, as he said himself, been very close to his red aunts. And I think that he gets on with his uncle, Charles. And obviously he went to stay at Althorpe for the weekend because, of course, that's where it was Diana's, the anniversary of her death, and that's where she's buried on the island there. So, and I think Harry tries, and certainly used to with William, go every year to visit her grave, you know, as near as anything around the time of her birthday. And I think the Spencers are actually making a big effort to include him. And they've got all, you see, obviously the Spencer children, if you like, well, they're not children, they're grown up now, Harry's cousins, he's actually become quite close to.
Well, this is your area of expertise, the world of Princess Diana and the world of the Spencers. Do you think the royal family would be nervous about Harry becoming close with Earl Spencer? We always remember what Charles Spencer said at the funeral, where he talked about, you know, we, the blood family, will look after Harry and William. I mean, are we on the road to more confrontation if he's closer to Earl Spencer and the other Spencers?
I suppose that's a very good point, Matt. But because King Charles, well, it was Prince Charles then, had this big fallout with Spencer over the funeral arrangements for Diana, and they have never got on. Oh, he's tricky. I mean, I think he's a very intelligent man, but he's obviously tricky. Anyone that's had 3 wives, I think he's had, can't be that easy. But he's a great historian, and he runs Althorpe, obviously very professionally, and you know he's. I mean, I met him, but I haven't met him recently, and he was fun. And Diana, of course, was quite close to him, except towards the end, and she really fell out with her brother because she wanted a house on the estate, and there were loads and loads of cottages there. I think we've talked about this before. And he said, no, I can't put up with the publicity and the baggage that you bring with you. And she was really hurt and really angry and refused to speak to him after that, and then went off on holiday with Mohammed Al Fayed, and of course the rest is history.
The rest is history, and it's very important to Harry. I mean, he's often talking about Diana. Many interviews that he's done in recent years to market his book or to promote his book. He's often spoke about so in depth about the memory of Diana. I was recently reading your book. It's called your most recent book, my favourite book of yours, by the way. And I've said that to you off camera, and I'll say it to you again. I think it's a very good book. My Mother and I. It tells the story of Charles and the late Queen, but in it, there's quite a lot about Princess Diana, and you spent a lot of time with Diana, private, you know, probably the same distance as we are over a cup of tea or having a glass of water and then
bit closer, Matt.
and having a nice little chat. She must have many times spoken to you about Prince Harry. She died when he was 12 years old.
He was 12, nearly 13, yes. Yeah. Not many times, but I did really eke it out of her because when I last saw her, which was, you know, very shortly before she died, I was writing a book about William and Harry, and I really wanted to talk to her about them, and she opened up, as she always did, and she said that she at one time she really worried about William because he had no interest. Yeah, I don't want to be king. That was when they were younger. But then she started to be concerned about Harry because she said he had no interest in learning. He never picked up a book. I know he's dyspraxic, which makes it more difficult, but she obviously really tried to help him. But all Harry really wanted to do was have his mother to himself.
Right.
And he would sometimes... pretend that he was ill at school, so she'd come and pick him up and take him home, and then he could sit watching television with her all afternoon and snuggle up to her. He was a very tactile young boy and very, very close to his mother. And I remember after William went on his gap year, way back on Operation Raleigh, Harry said when he came back, he's much nicer now. So this myth that Harry and William were very close is a myth. They were only close, really close, after their mother died. Of course, they unified, and they were the only two people that knew what it felt like. But they weren't very close as youngsters.
Well, Harry mentions this quite a bit. He talks about the sibling rivalry, and he moaned in spare, saying that he complained that William ignored him when he went to Eton, which big brothers sometimes do. Your younger brother's embarrassing. But did Diana ever talk about this sibling rivalry that we're seeing playing out now? I mean, he's called the books. We keep banging on about this book. It was years ago. He called the book Spare. He still has a problem with the fact that he is the younger brother to William. Did Diana ever mention that or see that as a problem between the
Yes,
boys?
I mean, we talked about it quite a lot because she said, I worry for Harry because... and I'm really, really careful that he's not treated differently than William because, for instance, when they used to go and see the Queen Mother, she'd pat the chair and say, come and sit here, William, and completely ignore Harry, and that really upset Diana, and that's one of the reasons she said to me she wanted him to go to Eton rather than some other school which might have suited him better. She said, because she didn't want people to say he's stupid, he can't get in there. She was very concerned about his sort of feeling of inadequacy with William.
So did it play out as children? Did Diana suggest that it was obvious that Harry had a problem with his older brother?
Yes, even when they were very little, when William first went to Miss Minor's, which was the baby school. When Harry first went there after William had been there, they showed the teacher there said to him, "Here, Harry, play with this clay." And so William used to be really good at this, making model figures. So Harry picked up the clay and threw it down and said, no. So from a very, very young age, Harry felt inadequate. Now, it was nothing to do with Diana, nothing to do with Charles, but it was just there. It may have been, maybe it was to do with the nannies, because, of course, I'm not talking about Barbara Barnes, who was completely brilliant, but sometimes the nanny will focus on the more important child. It's just a matter of what happens. Happened when Charles was young, and Prince Philip actually fired the nanny. But it could have been that, but he was always very conscious of being second in command.
Did Diana ever suggest a way of resolving that? Did she fear for the future in any way, or did you ever discuss how she thought the boys might grow up with this kind of atmosphere?
I think she feared more, as William was growing up, because he was 15 when she died. Or yes, he was 15, and Harry was 12 going on 13. She worried much more for Harry because she just wasn't sure which way he was going to go. And when he was a little boy, William used to bully him quite a lot, which is perfectly normal. And Harry would always take the blame for the scrapes they'd get into. Again, perfectly normal with young boys. But Diana was very conscious of Harry being a very sensitive child.